Honorable Chairman, may I, in my intervention in this committee stage debate, we are discussing today Ministry of Water Supply and Drainage as well as the Ministry of Ports and Shipping. Here, initially, if you talk about the water supply and drainage as a former minister in charge, I must say that the government's program is a very, very ambitious one to increase the overall pipe-borne water coverage to 79% by 2025. And they say the remaining 21% to be covered by the Ministry of Honorable Sanat Nishanta, the state ministry, which will be covered through the community water supply schemes. So, overall, if you are to achieve this 100% coverage of the country within this short span of time, just 3 years, I am just posing this question about how plausible is this gigantic task is a question that we have to raise, because now if you take the National Water Supply and Drainage Board, it was established somewhere in the 70s, but prior to that, we had the Public Works Department. From the colonial days, we had built during the colonial days, Labugama, Kalatuava, all these dedicated reservoirs for water supply. So, almost 70 years, we have managed to get 45% coverage. But now, within just merely 3 years, we are talking about reaching almost half that coverage, or more than half, 24% coverage. Now, where are we going to get? Now, there is a water resources problem. Now, we have to first make sure we need, now right now we almost need about 2 million cubic meters per day. Now we have to find another almost 1.5 to 2 million the cubic meters of water to reach this additional 24% that you are trying to achieve within the 3-year horizon. So this is almost virtually an impossible task. Of course, if you reach it, all of us will be happy. But then this type of, in my opinion, a very ambitious attempt is going to, it will not be realized that soon. In the meantime, let me also say, now this question of trying to reach these targets, particularly we must look at do we have a water resources study that have been done properly? We have to first, now if you take certain surface rivers in this country, we have almost 100 rivers all over the country. But then during the dry season, now take for instance Maoya, we are tapping in almost 17 places. And that goes dry half the way. And your district honorable chairman, the Nilwala and Jin. Of course, we have a time period where now Nilwala project, the diversion project, has met with so many obstacles. We were never able to do that. Only way we can do is to create dedicated reservoirs. Now, what is happening to the Vioya and Yatimahana reservoirs? I was told that the irrigation department was going to construct these reservoirs and they were doing the feasibility studies. I don't know where the situation is now. These two reservoirs are so important, particularly one for Wayamba, the other for the capital city, Colombo. Both Yatimahana and Vioya, what is the position today is a serious issue. So we have to look at the water quality study. Now we must understand during the former president's time, Honorable Maitripala Sirisena, he is under attack these days by their own side for many things. When he undertook his first official visit to China, there was this gift of the best laboratory for the entire South Asia, water laboratory, that is being now almost complete in the Peradeniya engineering faculty premises. Now that water laboratory has so many facilities, I think we must put it to maximum use. I can see from their corporate plan, there are many plans that are afoot, but then several things could be done with that. But that being the case, now it is important for us to look at the water quality and water resources study issues. Then important issue is the upstream reservoirs. In every possible river in the country is something that we have to focus on if we are going to look at water scarcity in the future. So the upstream reservoirs, I think Mahavali, we can have upstream reservoir even beyond Navalapitiya. We can build an upstream reservoir to make sure that the water requirements of the central province is more secure. These issues have to be attended. Now then we have, I think they have to. Now I say that 79% coverage for pipe-borne water by the National Water Supply and Drainage Department, and leaving the rest of the 21% to the Community Water Supply Department is well and good. But I think for us, it will be more prudent to bring it down to about 70% and then make 30% 70% to be community water supply based projects, smaller projects. Because otherwise, because now only the rural areas are left. Most of the urban areas are covered. So your per connection charge is going to be very high if you are going to give pipe-borne water to all the sparsely populated, less density areas. Your per connection charge is going to be very high. So it is only a prudent decision to bring it down to at least 70%. Because drop about 9% and then concentrate about 30% for community level water supply. And in this regard, I must also say that the water supply and sanitation improvement project, the WASIP project by the World Bank, which was a very, very worthwhile project, I am told that the second stage is only there given, whereas the first stage they gave almost $170 million, but then they have only given another 30 million to proceed with the second stage, because these are all areas which had less coverage. There were 7 districts that were identified in the first phase. There are more other districts to be identified in the second phase, but then the World Bank's commitment, yes. You can correct it, yes.
7 districts have to continue with the incomplete sections of the WASIP project.
Okay,
not
fine.
to include new districts.
No, but why don't you include some other
that is the condition of the World Bank.
No,
and
this
that
is the problem.
And that is the requirement of our program.
No.
That we have not completed our 7 districts.
Please
How
revise.
can we think of other districts?
What I am asking you is to, don't listen to the dictates of the World Bank as they say, but try and persuade them, because there are other districts, other rural areas. No, I know. While you complete it, Mr. Minister, no, it's a question of persuading the World Bank. It's a question of negotiating with the World Bank, explaining to them. This is all based on certain criteria. There are several other districts where the same criteria falls. There are issues because you simply can't find the water sources in every district, conceivable district. And I'm sure the Honorable Minister's department can look after many districts. I am told that there is a plan to build some treatment plants. At least 20 to 25 treatment plants are to be built very soon, and then tenders have been called for the treatment plants. Here there is an attempt to get even the contractors to get involved in signing a tripartite agreement. I am told that the contractors have backed out from signing tripartite agreements. They are not ready, because the question is, you see, the repayment cannot be tied on to the contractors, where the ownership is going to be with the National Water Supply and Drainage Department. Our Water Supply and Drainage Board should not impose this on the contractors. In the meantime, the treasury guarantee will be the primary thing. I am sure with the current problem, with the loan portfolio being expanded in this fashion, whether it will be possible for you to raise all these monies from local banks. Ultimately, already we have in the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation is indebted to the 2 state banks to the tune of $3.5 billion. That being the case, of course, National Water Supply and Drainage Board may be not in that category, but still our tariffs cannot be increased. There are issues relating to what is happening to the PPP project, Valley-Vita project. That is another issue. A public-private partnership was also proposed by the ADB and the World Bank. Now there was a attempt to first initially start at least a PPP project so that the investment can be shared with the private sector. That issue is also hanging fire. In the meantime, let me also ask the question about the desalination project in Jaffna. The ADB desalination project there are various challenges with that, because desalination, there has to be more consumption of electricity, and the tariff is there is going to be a severe pressure on the tariff. The contractors have to run it for another 7 years. No, you can answer when you answer, Mr. Minister.
Tapped for this purpose. You are ignorant of what we are doing.
No. Let's see. No, you answer. But how are we going to manage the tariff as it is when you have to incur heavy electricity costs for desalination? But the first desalination plant. But of course, it's a good thing. Start a desalination plant when you don't have surface water. We try to persuade the MPs from the Kilinochchi district to allow us to tap the water from the Iranamadu tank. But unfortunately, because of the farmer pressure or because of other political reasons, the very people of Kilinochchi were refusing to give water to people in Jaffna. That's a very unfortunate situation. We should have persuaded them. In fact, we invested in raising the levels of the tank also in order to have more capacity to satisfy the farmers. But all that became futile. Several times I also attended these discussions, but then unnecessary politics have messed up the whole thing. In the meantime, I must also say that in the Kandy district, the Kundasala Haragama project is a very, very urgent need of the area. The Kundasala Haragama area is a very rapidly urbanizing area, and there are several households without water connections. And Honorable Tissa Attanayaka was once organizer of the electorate as well. So this project is of urgent importance, and I'm sure the Honorable Minister would prioritize that project and have that implemented without delay. So thank you very much. Thank you. So with those words, I must also say the අපේ ජාතික ප්‍රජා ජල සැපයුම් දෙපාර්තමේන්තුව පිළිබඳව ප්‍රශ්න රාශියක් තිබෙනවා. විශේෂයෙන්ම ඇතම් ප්‍රජාමූල සමිති අකර්මණ්‍ය වන තත්වයක් පැන නැගලා තිබෙනවා. විශේෂයෙන් මේක
Honorable member, there's only 2 minutes left.
Yes. ඒකට විවිධ හේතු බලපාන බව අපි දන්නවා. ජල මූලාශ්‍ර සිඳී යෑම, ජල පොම්ප අක්‍රිය වීම, ජල යෝජනා ක්‍රමවල විදුලිය විසැඳීම, ජලනල දි รา පත් වීම, ගම් වතුර විවිධ මාර්ග ඉදිකිරීම වලදී කඩා බිඳ දැමීම, මේ වගේ නොයෙකුත් ප්‍රශ්න වලට මුහුණ දෙනවා. මේ
ප්‍රජා ජල පනත සම්මත කරලා නොතිබෙච්ච එක ඔබතුමා ඇමතිවරයා කාලේ කරලා තිබ්බනම් අපිට ගොඩක් පහසු වෙනවා මේ කරන්නේ.
ඒ පිළිබඳව කරන්න ඕන. අපිත් ඒකට උත්සාහයක් කළා. නමුත් මෙතන ඔබතුමා මේක මේ ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්න යනකොට ගැටලුවක් මතුවෙනවා මේ අපේ පළාත් සභාවක්. ඇත්ත වශයෙන්ම මේක පළාත් සභාවලට විමධ්‍යගත බෙදා හරිනු බලතලයක් තමයි අපි උදුරගෙන තියෙන්නේ. ඒක අපි මතක තියාගන්න ඕනේ. ඒ හින්දා පළාත් සභාව එක්ක යම් ගිවිසුමකට එළඹෙන්න. නැත්තම් මේක පළාත් සභාවලට බෙදා හරින්න. එකෙක් පළාත් සභාවලට මේ කාර්යභාරය බාර දෙන්න. මොකද මේ ඔක්කොම මධ්‍යම ආණ්ඩුව බදාගෙන ඉන්න අවශ්‍ය නැහැ. ඒකයි මං කියන්නේ. නමුත් මේකට ඒ විශේෂ අනුදැනුම පිළිබඳව අපේ National Water Supply and Drainage Board ඒ උදව්ව ඒ ආකාරයට ලබා දෙන්න ඕනේ. මොකද ඒගොල්ලන්ට තාක්ෂණික දැනුම අඩුකමක් තිබෙනවා. ඒ හින්දා තමයි මේ දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවෙත් පටන් ගත්තේ. දිනේෂ් ගුණවර්ධන ඇමතුමාගේ කාලේ පටන් ගත්ත දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවට කිසිම ප්‍රතිපාදන ලබා දෙන්න තිබුණේ නැහැ. ප්‍රථම වතාවට අපි අර ගම් 1000කට ඒ වැඩපිළිවෙල පටන් ගත්තා. ඒක ඔබතුමන්ලා දැන් තවත් ව්‍යාප්ත කරලා 10-15 මිලියනයක් වෙන් කරලා තියෙනවා කියන එක සතුටුයි. නමුත් මේ ඔක්කොම ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්න එතන අර කැපැසිටි එක තියෙනවද කියන ප්‍රශ්නයක්. ඒ කැපැසිටි එක මදිකම පිළිබඳව විශාල ප්‍රශ්නයක් ඇති වෙනවා. ඒක සාමාන්‍යයෙන් අපි දැක්ක කාරණාවක් තමයි. මොකද දිස්ත්‍රික් කාර්යාලය 25ක් අපි ආරම්භ කළා. නමුත් ඒවට අවශ්‍ය
ඒ අයට අවශ්‍ය කරන යාන වාහන කාර්යාල අවශ්‍ය නිලධාරීන්
ඒවා පොඩ්ඩක්
සෑම ප්‍රාදේශීය ලේකම් කොට්ටාස් යොදවලා තියෙනවා ගරුවත්වා. ලොකු ප්‍රමාණයක් යොදවලා තියෙනවා. ඒ කැපැසිටි අපි ගාව තියෙනවා.
that you
ඒ කැපැසිටි මං ගාව තියෙනවා.
Make sure that these district officers are properly empowered to have sufficient workforce to discharge their duties. See that the field officers are given at least motorbikes to go around, at least 1 or 2 double cabs for each of these district officers, so they can go around and then get because they have to identify the water sources, they have to have various discussions with the communities. There are so many community based problems that crop up, so this needs a very serious attention. And I am also urging the honorable minister to consider to come to a compromise with the provincial councils in running the community water based project in their areas, so that we don't tinker with the devolution scheme that has been given under the 13th amendment. Thank you.